Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter to get over herself? I was blessed with 3 beautiful children, and unfortunately my eldest, Brooke, passed away when she was 5 years old. It rocked my world, and I know I haven't been the same since. I went through therapy and still attend to this day, but a part of me died too. I will never let my daughter be forgotten. I bring pictures of her to events such as holiday celebrations and birthdays. I talk about her all the time. Every year on my living children's birthdays, I think of her and how her once younger siblings are now older than her. My other daughter, Marnie, is getting married next month. I asked her if she was having a memorial table, and she said no. I asked her about creating a seat for her sister who passed, as she should be a part of the day. Marnie told me no, that for once she wants a day about her. She says she couldn't have one event that wasn't about Brooke. Even her graduation, I had put a picture of her on the seat. She said I needed to stop making my grief front stage. I told her she was being incredibly selfish, and until she goes through a loss like this, she'll never understand. Marnie asked me if her kids would have to live under the shadow of Brooke too, and I told her she should be ashamed to get over herself. My son says I'm being terrible and I need to reevaluate my life. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You do realize that you've made your living children feel like they don't matter, right? You're the a-hole. I cannot imagine your loss, but you've hurt your 2 living children by never allowing them to move on. And in your fear of having Brooke forgotten, you have ensured that they resent her memory. I understand wanting to keep a loved one's memory alive, but there's a time, place, and prioritization for it. It's disrespectful to the living children too, for the lack of a better word, obsessed with someone who is no longer here. Opie's life revolves around the deceased daughter so much so that it's sickeningly offensive for Opie to put the other children second place. I'm not gonna sugarcoat my words just cause Opie's grieving. I don't like Opie at all. She's not a good or even a decent mother to her children right now. Maybe in the future as well. The other children don't have the same bond to Brooke as Opie does. They should not be subjected to Opie's obsession. I'm sure the children feel the need to compete with their dead sister for a fraction of their mother's attention. They should miss her. Pain leads to happy memories. Why would they want to forget their sister? Even her graduation, I had put a picture of her on the seat. Is Marnie happy? No. She wants her grief out of her life. I want to quasi-hijack this understandably harsh comment to add, because I know people who started therapy because of behavioral patterns that harmed their loved ones, had a misfortune of finding a really crappy therapist, and got much, much worse. Holy smokes, get a new therapist. I want to offer sympathetic and productive advice to Opie, and the most generous thing I can assume about her is that she spent several decades seeing a wildly incompetent therapist. He was completely disinterested in helping Opie have meaningful relationships with the living, or even understanding what such a thing might be. I'm going to be blunt, Opie, because apparently your own children telling you you're terrible is not enough to get through to you. Most bad parents only manage to sow discord between their living children. You've accomplished the rare feat of causing the living to resent the dead. If you do not believe in an afterlife, then it follows that none of what you are doing to remember Brooke is actually for Brooke. It's for you. Stop being selfish. If you do believe in an afterlife, then surely you understand that Brooke doesn't want a table at Marnie's wedding. She wants a place in Marnie's heart. That's not going to happen until you stop turning all of your kids' important life events into a decades-long memorial for Brooke. You're the a-hole. None of what you are doing to remember Brooke is actually for Brooke. It's for you. Over and over this. Can you imagine that you are at your graduation and your mother requests an empty chair to put your sister's photo who died over a decade or 2 ago? My 20-year-old brother ended himself and it consumed my dad. He didn't care about me or anyone else. All he cared about was my brother. It's pretty rough when your parents' favorite kid is their dead one. You're the a-hole. I say this with the most love I can muster, but you are the one who needs to get over yourself. Next story. Am I the a-hole for choosing my son over my stepdaughter? I, female 32, have been married to Mark, male 36, for 6 years. Mark had a child, Sarah, female 12, with Allie, ex-girlfriend, who is starting high school next year, meaning she needs a computer for school. We also have a child together, Alex, male 5. The issue arose last week when my husband asked me to contribute 1/3 of the cost for Sarah's computer, saying it could be a Christmas present for all of us. Sarah wants a MacBook. and they decided on the latest MacBook Pro, over $2,000 after AppleCare, accessories, etc., with my share totaling at least $700. I make significantly less than my husband, and before this year, we would stick to a budget and have the cost together. This year, the budget I scheduled was $200 per kid. I typically handle all Christmas shopping, but run everything past Mark. I told Mark that was double what we spent each Christmas, and I wasn't aware until now that I was expected to chip in the costs. I said if I'd had time to save, I might have, but on short notice it wasn't possible, and suggested we look at cheaper options, which was quickly shot down. I told him that I could contribute $200 for my savings, but no more, so we still had to buy presents for Alex. This wasn't received well by Sarah, Allie, or Mark, and they said I was selfish for not helping out. And Sarah was devastated as she took this as me favoring Alex over her, and not liking/wanting her. The suggestion was that I don't spend much money on Alex and give the money to Sarah instead. But I refused, since I didn't consider that fair to Alex, and didn't want him upset that he didn't get any/many presents for Christmas. This has had a severe impact on my relationship with Sarah and Allie, and Mark thinks I should do this to prove my love for Sarah. Sarah has 3 people contributing to presents while Alex only has 2, so Sarah typically gets more presents anyway, but we always keep things fair. Mark and Allie are the a-hole for getting Sarah involved in an issue of finances. She's 12 years old. She does not need a $2,000 piece of equipment. Let them get it for her and see what happens when she breaks it. The fact that he equates sticking to a budget with not caring as much about Sarah is a huge red flag as well. Not the a-hole. However, keep your eye on your husband and his ex playing their daughter against you. You won't be the a-hole if you play into their game at your son's expense. I would just like to point out that most high schools issue their own computers to students. My kid is in high school and they gave out iPads for the students at the beginning of the school year. So this isn't a need, it's a want, and an expensive want for a 12-year-old. Not the a-hole. Why does a 12-year-old need a MacBook Pro in the first place? I got through university with a laptop I got open box at Best Buy for $400. It sounds as though he tried reasonable compromises and suggestions, and it's pretty rude of them to have involved her in this conversation. Good luck untangling this mess, and I hope the adults can reach some kind of agreement without spoiling the joy of receiving gifts gracefully for your stepdaughter. To be fair, some high school programs, think anything related to design, code, video editing, etc., do require certain software that only runs on newer laptops, or require Mac instead of PC. This isn't as common in high school as in college, but does exist. I don't know any schools that require PC but advanced courses at my public high school. Both schools I went to for undergrad and my grad school required a Mac that could run a certain version of software on it. Dad could also be thinking a newish MacBook now. We'll ask her through undergrad if it's taken care of properly. Why she needs a brand new Pro is beyond me. Refurbed ones will last just as long and can be $300 plus cheaper. However, that's school. The kid has 2 parents to pay for school, and Opie isn't one of them. Opie's a bonus parent to this girl. She could include a nice case or keyboard protector or year of Microsoft Suite in kids' Christmas gift, but is by no means responsible for this very expensive education-related tool. Kids' bio parents are being selfish a-holes. So not the a-hole in my opinion too. Yes, Mark was adamant on new so she could use it all through high school, 6 years, which I do agree on. The school supplies all the software needed, so I assumed the computers they suggested were needed for the specific software they needed. Edit. After reading the comments, I've decided to stick to my decision. I will offer $200 but won't pay more than that, and suggested cheaper options once again. I definitely agree that Sarah doesn't need that expensive of a laptop, but will suggest a MacBook Air. Any further comments would be much appreciated. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not allowing my ex-mother-in-law to have a key to my house? So me and my ex have been separated for 2 years. We separated on good terms and we get on well despite our differences. We do have a 3-year-old daughter, and he works a lot, so he doesn't get to have our daughter often. For this reason, I gave him a spare key to my house so that he could pop in and see us whenever he wanted. I completely trusted him with his key. For context, I have never had a good relationship with my ex-mother-in-law. She's always hated me and accused me of ruining her son's life by getting pregnant so young. I was 18. She hates me so much that when I was pregnant with our daughter, she threatened to take me to court to gain full custody of my daughter. When I found this out, I was of course furious and did confront her. They were empty threats, as I honestly think she knew she'd be fighting a lost battle. She despises me, and honestly, I'm not her biggest fan either. I haven't much interacted with her since I left my ex, except from the fortnightly visits where I take my daughter to her house. Well, my ex has been coming over to the house as usual, but has not been using his key. At first I thought nothing of this, but it became more frequent, and so I said if you're not going to use your key, I'll have it back. He then informed me that his mom had asked for the key so that she had access to the house, and to see her granddaughter whenever she wanted. He told me he agreed. I lost my temper completely. After everything I'd gone through in the past, I had absolutely no idea why he thought it would be a good idea to give his deranged mother my key. I told him I wanted it back immediately, and that I no longer wanted him to have a key. He is furious at me, saying his mother is in pieces, as all she wants is to know that she can see her granddaughter whenever she so pleases. I told him that that was in no way realistic, and that if she wished to spend time with my daughter, she could message or call me and I'd bring her over with me there in attendance. This wasn't good enough, and now him and his family are not speaking to me. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Start documenting these things. Exact dates, exactly what they do and say. This sounds like a course leading to a restraining order on the mother-in-law. Be prepared for that date. Stand your ground firmly on this issue. If he wants to invite her over while caring for his daughter, that's his choice. Giving her access to your home is a gross violation of trust, and you are right to revoke that access. Personally, don't ask for the key back. Just change the locks. It will give you peace of mind that you are safe again. I had started documenting back when she threatened custody, but stopped when we separated. I definitely think I should go back to it and continue it. Thank you. Can't emphasize enough about changing the locks. I'd also look into getting cameras as well. Time with his mother at this point needs to be only during his time with her and never on your property. Considering you didn't mention anything about a custody agreement, I'm guessing you only have an informal one. Might be time to consult an attorney about formalizing a legal one. If Grandma's feeling you are withholding her granddaughter through having normal boundaries, she likely is already looking into getting one for her son. Not stay home. Change your locks. She's likely made copies. Don't give him a key to the new lock. Locksmiths have been called. Feel like a fool for ever giving him one in the first place now. Don't. You did it because you were trying to do co-parenting. He is the one who broke your trust and is at fault. Not stay home. Most grandparents cannot see their grandkids whenever they want. They have to contact the parents and make arrangements to meet up. Your ex-mother-in-law wants that key for some other reason, and I doubt it is a good one. Get your locks changed. Even if you get that key back, they might have made a copy of it. It is not at all that expensive, even if you get a locksmith to do it. Or you can rekey the locks yourself if you are good at DIY. And I'd look for signs that someone has been in your house while you were out. She clearly wasn't using the key while you were home, but that doesn't mean she didn't snoop around while you were out. Update. Locksmith has been called. Glad I'm not going insane. Thank you all. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for alienating my daughter against her mother and allowing her to live with me? Context. My ex-wife Stacy and I, 37 male, met at a party in college and hit it off. We dated for 3 years during college. During the relationship, I made it clear I didn't want kids. Right after we graduated, Stacy got pregnant. She said it was caused by birth control failure. This is important for later. I didn't want the kid and tried to convince her to terminate or give the baby up for adoption, but she wanted to raise the kid. I really wanted to leave but felt guilty, so I married her out of guilt. After our daughter Madison was born, I started getting depressed. I became an alcoholic. I tried really hard to be a good dad to her. I really tried my best. When she was 5, I realized how much I hated my life. I filed for divorce and left. I made sure to always pay child support. I still loved Madison, I just couldn't be a good parent to her at a time. I stayed in Chicago for a bit, but eventually moved to Canada for a job. Still, I felt like I had no purpose. I was still depressed, and I was still drinking. I was in a pretty dark place. I even lived in my car for 3 months. Then I met my current wife, Amanda, 33 female, and we started dating. She cared about me, and I started getting my life back on track. I left my toxic job, found a good apartment, started going to AA meetings, and started seeing a therapist. During this time, I contacted Stacy and asked to see Madison. I begged and showed her that I was sober, but she wouldn't let me. I tried several times, but Stacy wouldn't let me. I started a business 6 years ago, and it's done incredibly well in the last 3 years. It's pulled in $3 million in profit last year. Then Amanda and I got married. I was finally able to hire a good attorney, and after a complicated legal battle, I was given holidays and summers with Madison. Madison was a little difficult at first, but I have explained everything to her, and she was really understanding. Madison, 15 female, and I now have a really good relationship. I have tried to co-parent respectfully with Stacy, but she has been really difficult to communicate. She doesn't tell me certain matters, and she sends threatening voicemails, etc. I also know that Stacy told some pretty bad crap about me to Madison. Stacy told Madison I loved alcohol more than her, that I never sent them any money, despite the fact I never missed a payment. 2 days ago, Madison called me and told me that she and her mother had a fight, and her mother admitted that she stopped taking birth control intentionally to trap me. Madison said that this was the last straw with her mom, and that she wants to move in with me. Madison said her mom was always mad at her for mentioning me, and that she forced her to share the stuff I got her with her step-siblings, and she begged me to let her move in. I obviously agreed. Legally, since she's 15, she can choose who to live with. Now my ex, her husband, and her family have been blowing up my phone telling me that I alienated Madison against her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Oh no, the consequences of my actions. I have to laugh at them accusing Opie of alienating her. Opie didn't need to do anything since mom did a good enough job of that herself. Not the a-hole. You've turned your life around and started making amends with your daughter, which is exactly what a good father is supposed to do. Your ex not only lied to you about taking birth control to trap you, but she's been lying to your daughter for 15 years about you. And now she's pissed off because your daughter can see what a horrible manipulative person her mother is. Mom is and has been committing parental alienation, which is a huge no-no and would be another reason the courts would give Opie custody over the mom anyway. Mom is an a-hole. She desperately wanted a child, and now that she has one, she is doing things to hurt her. Wow. How very sad for them all. Thank goodness Opie has turned his life around, gotten sober, and is being a good father so that girl can have one responsible, loving parent.
Am I the a-hole for not splitting the inheritance when I was the only one who took care of our hoarder mother? I, 34 female, was the only one out of 4 siblings who stayed in contact with our mom after our dad died. After his passing, she completely fell apart and eventually became a full-on hoarder, the kind you see in documentaries. The house was in horrific condition. It reeked of ammonia. There were dead mice decomposing under piles of trash, mold on the walls, rotting food in the fridge, and literal human waste in corners of the house. One by one, my siblings distanced themselves. They said it was too much for their mental health, too overwhelming, and not how they wanted to remember her. I understood it on some level, but I couldn't bring myself to abandon her. So I stayed. I visited her every single week. I bought her groceries. I managed her medications, paid bills she was too confused to handle, scrubbed floors stained with urine and worse. I fought with her constantly, about getting help, about seeing a doctor, about letting someone clean, but she was stubborn and deeply in denial. When she died last year, it was me who found her, alone, surrounded by the chaos she'd built around herself. That image still haunts me. There was no dramatic reading of the will, no lawyers involved, just a handwritten note that she had left behind, dated and signed, stating clearly that everything, the house and the little bit of savings, should go to me. Her words, because she's the only one who's been here. And I was. After her death, I had to clean out that disaster of a home. I paid thousands out of pocket for a professional hazmat team. It wasn't just messy, it was hazardous. I dealt with it all alone. The grief, the cleanup, the paperwork, the funeral arrangements. Once everything was finally cleared, the house was appraised. And to my shock, It's now worth nearly $750,000. And now, as if on cue, my siblings have suddenly resurfaced. After years of silence, they're calling and texting, claiming I manipulated her, that I cut them off, that I isolated her to influence her decision. One even had the audacity to say, "You profited off her illness." But I didn't profit, I survived. I lost years of my life to that house, to that trauma. I lost my peace of mind, my health, and almost my marriage trying to take care of a woman everyone else had already abandoned. I told them no. I told them they didn't get to forget her when she needed them and then try to claim her when she became valuable. Now they're threatening to sue me, saying they'll challenge the will even though there's no evidence of coercion or foul play. I don't feel guilty, but I do feel tired. So tired. So here I am asking, am I the a-hole if I refuse to split the inheritance 4 ways just to get them off my back? Now for the top comments. You need a lawyer to get that will validated in probate court. If it's not declared valid, the estate will be divided equally between all heirs in most jurisdictions. At the least, keep your receipts for all the work done to clean it up, as you will be reimbursed before any payouts happen. Not the a-hole. To add to this, try to find any receipts for care of your mom and her home over the last few years. Ask the lawyer at very least if the hours spent can be reimbursed somehow. If you didn't do these tasks, your family would have had to hire a caregiver or cleaners, for example. Good luck, not the a-hole. This is probably the best way to go about things. Make a log of hours, supply receipts. Without a filed will and a mentally ill mother, the estate probably will get split, but you can probably get more reimbursement for your care and attention. Vultures always appear when the hard work is done. I hate how true this is. My grandma and great-aunt, twins, had Alzheimer's, and we took care of them for years with no help from my aunt and uncle. My aunt and grandma had a decades-long beef, and the very day we were getting them together to bring them to the manor because they'd progressed past the point we could adequately care for them, guess who showed up to go through their belongings? I was getting my grandma out of bed, and she heard my aunt's voice from the living room and hissed in my ear, "Why the hell is she here?" This was a woman that couldn't remember what she ate for breakfast 10 minutes ago, but just my aunt's voice rang something so deep-seated she was lucid for a moment. My brother was going to try, but his lawyer told him he wouldn't win because Dad had it notarized and done by an attorney years before he died. Plus, he already got money. He would have to prove Dad was coerced or not, of sound mind, which would be hard with multiple witnesses, including his attorney. Dad was sly and put me on both house deeds, so it wasn't even an inheritance. It was already my property with rights of survivorship. My dad was a smart businessman and super shrewd. Miss him every day. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not entitled to our grandmother's house just because she needs it more? Our grandmother passed away a few months ago and left her house to me and my sister equally. The will clearly states that the house is to be sold and the profit split 50-50. There was no ambiguity. I was very close to my grandma, especially during her final year. I visited regularly, helped with groceries, appointments, and was her primary support in her final months. My sister, on the other hand, barely visited. She'd check in once in a while, but the emotional and physical caregiving fell almost entirely on me. Now that Grandma's gone, things have gotten complicated. My sister is insisting we don't sell the house. She wants to move in and keep it in the family. She's a single mom with 2 young kids and says she needs it more than I do. She's called me selfish for wanting to follow the will, and recently she even hinted that if I push for the sale, she'll never forgive me, as if this is a personal betrayal. I've tried to be reasonable. I told her I'd be open to her buying out my half so she could keep the house, but she says she can't afford that, and that I should do the right thing by letting her have the entire property, because I'm child-free and financially stable, while she's struggling. She believes that because I don't have the same financial pressures, I should just give up my half for the sake of family. It's turning into a full-blown family drama. A few extended relatives, who weren't around even during Grandma's decline, are calling me cold-hearted and greedy. They're siding with my sister, saying she has kids to think about. and acting like I'm trying to kick her out into the street. No one seems to care that this wasn't my decision. This is what Grandma put in her will, and that I sacrificed a lot of time and energy in those final months while my sister was nowhere to be found. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fracture my family over this, but I also don't think it's fair that I'm being pressured to give up half of what was legally and intentionally left to me. Grandma wanted the house sold and the value split evenly. I'm simply trying to honor that. Am I the a-hole for refusing to walk away from what I was legally and equally left? Not the a-hole, and tell your sister she is more than welcome to buy you out of your share for half of fair market value, or pay you rent. But you are not going to give her the house, period. Any other relative chiming in can chip in to help her pay to buy you out. Oh, they don't think they should pay? Well, neither should you. I should just let her have it because I'm child-free and doing okay financially. It's amazing to me the number of people who think that their major life decisions should become a major problem for their other family members. Kids are hard and expensive, but that doesn't mean siblings should pay for it or become free babysitters, usually unappreciated too. Right? My son is grown, gone, and married. My husband's 2 kids are grown and gone. The crap we get when we don't want to do something because we don't have kids at home anymore is mind-blowing to me. Yeah, well, we've done our jobs. I work for a living, as does my husband. Our free time is just that. Ours. Buzz off. Not the a-hole. Tell your relatives to buy you out if they care so much about business that isn't theirs. As for your sister, well, tell her that she needs to be an adult and not expect people to care about her and her kids because she's a single mom and to either buy you out or you sell. Her expecting you to lose out on your half regardless of how well you're doing is selfish and entitled. Your sister needs to learn how that her not being able to afford a house is nobody's problem but her own. Please do not cave, because she will never learn and continue to expect everything from you when life inconveniences her. You are well within your right, OP, and do not feel bad. Good luck. It was also an active choice that your sister made to have children. It's not fair to use it against you being child-free. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my father's partner to take back a lie she told my children? I'll preface this by saying I don't have the best relationship with my father, and his partner Blair is a big part of the reason why. While I don't hate her, she is extremely obnoxious and childish. She's also horrible with boundaries. It feels like anytime someone tells her no, she hears maybe. She's been like this for as long as I've known her, but it's become harder to deal with since I had children, so I try to keep some distance. Anyway, Blair and my father are planning on going to Orlando in July. About a month ago, she asked whether me, my husband, and our kids, 7 male and 3 female, wanted to join them. I thanked her for inviting us, but said no, because we're planning on going next January and there's a pretty big chance I'll have to work in July. Also, and I didn't say this to her, we've been to Orlando with her before, and my husband has stated he'd rather eat glass than do it again. A week later, Blair told me they were getting their tickets and asked me whether I was sure we wouldn't join them. I said I was. Days after that, my sister called me. Blair had told her I was thinking about going while inviting her and her boyfriend. I once again told Blair we wouldn't go. Finally, Blair asked me if I'd be okay with her and my father taking my kids to Orlando. I said no, because we're not even in the same hemisphere as the US, and I wouldn't let my young children travel to a different country without me or my husband. Last week, my sister babysat my kids while my husband and I went out. While we were gone, Blair visited to drop off a gift she and my father had bought for my husband. She also took the opportunity to tell my children we were all going to Orlando in July. My daughter didn't care about it much at first. I think she didn't really register it. But my son got very excited right away. He kept talking about how much he wanted to go to Disney and asking about the trip. And after watching her big brother like that, my daughter jumped on the bandwagon with him. It was both heartbreaking and infuriating to watch them like that. I called Blair and said she had 2 options. Either she'd tell my kids she'd lied and they weren't going to Orlando, or I will. I added that if she told them, she'd have the opportunity to apologize and explain herself, but if I did, I would not do that for her. Blair chose to call my children herself. I kept the phone on speaker to make sure she was apologizing, explaining everything, and making it clear we wouldn't go to Orlando in July. Both my children, especially my son, were upset, but my husband and I had a talk with them and managed to cheer them up. My father texted me yesterday. He said that he didn't appreciate the way I dealt with this. Blair is still upset and thinks my kids are mad at her now. He wants me to apologize, or at least try to get my kids to forgive her, but I don't see why I should. She was the one who lied to my children, and I'm not responsible for Blair's feelings. We're still on this back and forth, and I can tell neither of us is particularly proud about this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Well, she did lie to your kids after repeatedly being told you were not going to. Dad. 1. Did she ask me if I would go and I answered no? 2. Did she ask us if the kids could travel far away on their own to meet up with you guys? And I said no. 3. Did she lie and tell the kids they were going with them to Disney in Orlando when she knew it was a lie? 4. Did she cause us and the kids undue stress because of that lie? 5. Did she overstep and cross boundaries? The answer to all of these are yes. Therefore, we do not owe her anything, especially an apology. However, you, Dad, need to say you're sorry for gaslighting us with your wife's actions and demanding an apology for negative boundary-crossing behaviors. You both will be on time out until you can act like adults and take responsibility for your actions. Have a nice day. I would seriously consider a no-contact period until Blair learns that lying has consequences. I've considered going low contact with Blair for a while, not due to lies. This was the first time she lied to my kids, but because dealing with her genuinely feels like dealing with a child. Tell your father you will not apologize to liars. Period. Tell him if he persists, you will be going low contact with both of them. Not the a-hole. Of course Blair thinks your kids are mad at her. They should be. Blair created the situation by lying to them, and now she gets to accept the consequences. You can certainly discuss with your kids what it means to forgive someone who has done something wrong. Everyone needs to give and receive forgiveness at some point. But the ideal result is for your kids to tell Blair that they forgive her for lying to them when they are ready to do so. That will reinforce Blair's responsibility for this situation. My daughter isn't mad. She's upset, but mostly about the situation, rather than anyone specifically. My son is very much upset at Blair. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my cousin to pay me back for a dress she borrowed and ruined at a wedding? My cousin, 27 female, and I, 25 female, are pretty close, and we've always shared clothes here and there. A few weeks ago, she asked to borrow a dress of mine for a wedding. I was a little hesitant because it was one of my favorite dresses, not designer or anything crazy expensive, but still around $180, and I had only wore it once. I asked her to be careful and she promised she would be. She returns it a few days later in a plastic bag. When I opened it, smelled like wine and had a huge stain down the front. I texted her right away and she just said, "Oh my God, I know. I'm so sorry. I meant to tell you it was such a crazy night. Lol." I asked if she could cover the dry cleaning or replace the dress if it didn't come out, and she said, "I don't really have money for that right now. Can't you just wash off the stain?" I brought it to a professional cleaner and they couldn't get the stain out. The fabric is basically ruined. I asked if she could at least split the cost of a replacement and she got annoyed. She said I was being materialistic and that I shouldn't have loaned it if I wasn't okay with something happening to it. I told her that I didn't mind sharing things, but if you ruin something someone trusted you with, it's fair to replace it. She's been cold to me since, and she also hasn't taken any real responsibility for it. Am I the a-hole for asking her to pay me back after ruining something she borrowed? Not the a-hole, and don't share clothes anymore. She 100% knew what she was doing and expected you to just not say anything about it. Don't forget to shame her in front of friends and family. Next time someone hands her something at the family dinner table, oh, be careful. You don't want her to treat that like she did my dress. Oh, you didn't hear that story? She borrowed my favorite dress and ruined it. Huge wine stain. Just left it in a plastic bag. Then she wouldn't even pay the cost of getting it cleaned. Didn't matter. It was totally ruined. Then she called me materialistic and said I shouldn't have loaned it to her if I cared if it got ruined. I honestly wouldn't trust her with that dish of scalloped potatoes. Not the a-hole. If you ruin something you borrowed, you replace it. That's basic respect, not materialism. Crazy night lol doesn't cut it when the dress is stained beyond saving. Being broke isn't a free pass to damage other people's stuff and walk away. She's not mad at you, she's mad you're holding her accountable. Replace shouldn't have loaned it out if OP wasn't okay with something happening to it. With cousin shouldn't have borrowed it if she wasn't okay replacing it if something happened to it. OP should ask for full reimbursement and never lend anything to her cousin again. People suck, not the a-hole. Definitely tell her immediately that you won't loan her anything in the future, not even a scrunchie, since you aren't okay with something happening to it. Not the a-hole. Do you have a family group chat? Then share what happened with them. Remember the picture. My family hates my brother for dating someone wealthier than us, and it's tearing us apart. I, 35 female, have a younger brother, 27 male, and I've always seen him as the underdog/scapegoat of the family. He has some learning difficulties, the lowest level of college education among me and my siblings. Nothing wrong with that. And he lived at home longer than any of us. My brother has told me I'm really the only person in the family who actually believes in him and doesn't condescend to him. He said I've always been there for him and unconditionally supportive. Heck, he's told me on several occasions that I'm his favorite sibling. Haha. He started dating this girl, 26, a while ago, and I think they're a wonderful couple. They clearly love each other, and I sincerely hope it works out because she's perfect for him, and he seems perfect for her. The thing is, she and her family are far wealthier than ours, and from the beginning, I could tell our parents were a little insecure about that. He has also had a lifelong dream of being in the film industry, and she apparently has a family member with some connections. As a result, he's been consistently working on TV shows for the past year. I also know that whenever she comes over, she always brings fancy foods that are a step above what our mom is capable of cooking. And the fact that he's also the only one in the family without student debt seems to be a sore spot for our parents and siblings. His partner has an apartment in Manhattan, and she invited him to move in with her. He told us he's taking her up on the offer. Tonight we all had dinner together, minus my brother, and we talked about it. From what I could tell, my sister hates him because she's always wanted to live in the city, but doesn't have a job that could sustain that. Our other brother hates him for being able to work his dream job while he had to give his up. And our parents hate him because he now has all these opportunities that he didn't work for just because he found someone who has money. Of course, there were snarky comments about how he might only be dating her for her money and how they didn't understand why she was with him. Every time they took cheap shots at him, I tried to stand up for him but was met with pushback. By the end of the conversation, it was clear that any defense of him was not welcome, and sides were being taken. Afterward, I called my brother to tell him how proud I am of him and how happy I am for him. He asked if I could come over sometime to see the new apartment, and they even invited me to stay a few days at the city. I'm already dealing with so much stress with my fiancé and my job. I seriously don't have the energy to deal with a full-on family civil war. I love my brother, and we text pretty much every day, but I also don't want to burn bridges with the rest of the family. I'm feeling frustrated, stressed, scared, and disappointed. Now for the top comments. So, as long as everyone is struggling and miserable, then all's good? But when one person finds happiness, love, and success, the family implodes? Well, I'm in camp, little bro. His girlfriend sees his worth, and if your family can't, then they don't deserve him. Sorry, but your family sounds terrible. Man, his girlfriend is beautiful and has actually done modeling for the New York Times, and my siblings seem to hate that. The fact that he's not just with someone, but someone good-looking. Honestly, I'm surprised that it's your family that has a problem with the relationship. If she's wealthier, prettier, and more educated, wouldn't it usually be her family who would have the issue? What does her family think? Are they supportive? I hope your brother isn't getting talked down to by both families. Her family loves him, lol. I've heard stories and they sound so sweet. You do realize that since your family's harmony is based on directing all their petty insecurities toward your underdog brother, once he realizes how happy he is without them in his life, they'll just look for a new scapegoat. Who do you think that will be? And why wouldn't you burn those bridges? Especially if they're already covered in thorny vines. Oh, I hate envy. My aunt and her husband were like this. They were not poor or poverty-stricken in any way. Yet they always complained about how his sister had a fancy house and a husband with lots of money. Then when great-granddad passed away, they were mad he did not have them in the will. Safe to say we do not talk anymore. After a while, you just have to be clear that if they want to be a-holes, then they will not have you in their lives. Next story. My teacher who called me stupid in high school was a patient of mine. When I was a freshman in high school, I had this teacher that absolutely hated me. She was my biology teacher who was also my homeroom teacher. I never did anything to her yet she hated me. She accused me of being on drugs one time, when I never even seen drugs in my life at that age. I just finished 8th grade going on 9th grade. I was just a tired, sleepless teenager that moved from the north to the south. Also going through my parents' divorce. I was just depressed. Everyone down here treated me badly just because I looked different. I had no friends here and I missed my friends at home. So I did really bad in high school academically that I had to take summer school. She has told me I was academically challenged, but I'm not. I was tested back in middle school. I don't have any disabilities. She even called me stupid in front of the entire class. One time I raised my hand to answer a question since no one else was raising their hand, and she was so persistent on getting someone to answer, and I got the answer right and she said, "Wow guys, even Jane Doe got this right. You guys should have known the answer." Anyways, fast forward more than a decade now. I'm a nurse. For a long time, my high school teachers made me start to believe I was stupid. I wasn't. I ended up doing well in college. I just had a tough childhood. I was depressed. I went through a lot during my teenage years. Last week, my former teacher from high school came into the clinic I work at, and I took her vitals and got her ready to see the doctor. She didn't recognize me. I look very different, obviously, and I got married, so I changed my last name. When I told her my first and last name that she knows me by, and I told her I was in her class, her eyes widened and she was shocked. She remembered me. She actually looked like she was excited to see me. She told me she was proud of me and said she never thought in a million years that I would be her nurse. She joked to me and said, "I would have thought you made it as receptionist if I ever imagined running into you at a clinic wearing scrubs," and she started laughing. I didn't think that was funny. Quite offensive, actually. I was a receptionist for some time and I hated it. They deal with more crap than doctors and nurses do. Anyways, my former teacher is still a bit LOL. In college, my pre-law advisor told me I should probably rethink going to law school because there wasn't any way I'd be successful. I graduated in 2019, high honors, passed the bar exam in the top 5%, and have been licensed since 2019. Thankfully, I don't even remember her name, but if I did, I'd send her my business card. Well, heck, they let an uneducated a-hole like you be a teacher, so I guess anything is possible. Way to kick ass, OP. Congrats on not letting the bastards grind you down. It's so crazy. I've had so many terrible teachers like her in high school. You would think teachers would be more compassionate with teaching the next generation, but that's not even one of the worst things a teacher did or said to me. Good on you for having the strength to get past her and others' treatment and ignorance. My mom was a nurse too, specialized in anesthesia. She sucked at math, and she often told me how she'd met her old math teacher, and the look on horror on his face when she said she was working as a nurse in anesthesia. That specialty has a lot of math. The way she explained it, math became a lot easier for her when there was actual factors to deal with, instead of imagined ones. She didn't just make it as a nurse, she was an extremely good one, to a level where her nurse and doctor co-workers often requested her for when their own family needed treatment. The best part about that story? The fact that she told it once more to my friend who dreamed of becoming a nurse but had been called too stupid to ever learn by her math teacher, and it was a big burden on her mentally. She did go to a different school for the last year and found a math teacher who managed to teach her the subject in a way that made sense to her. But she was still very scared of failing the nurse education. She didn't fail, and she's a nurse today. 10 years ago, she told me she'd have never started that route if it wasn't for me telling her she wasn't stupid, and my mom telling her the same, including that story. Next story. We lost all our friends when one couple divorced. For over a decade, my spouse and I were a part of a tight-knit group of 6 couples. We went through a lot of life together. New careers, struggles with getting pregnant, multiple childbirths, and a severe cancer scare. Through it all, we shared everything, expressed our gratitude for one another, and joked about how we'd be 85 years old, still playing poker together at the nursing home. It was great, until it wasn't. Cracks started to show in one couple's marriage, which led to an affair, which led to a divorce. As this divorcing couple tried to pick up the pieces, my spouse and I tried to lend a listening ear and a supportive hand to each of them. These were our friends. Regardless of whose fault it was, they both deserved the human decency of care through the most difficult time in their lives. Or so we thought. Nobody told us the unwritten rule, you're supposed to choose sides in a divorce. That's what everyone else did. 2 couples sided with the husband, the other 2 with the wife. And the divorcing couple, they both assumed we were on the other one's side. So in the end, we were on neither side. Now the friend group is split, and no one talks to the other side. We had 10 best friends for life, and now we don't. It's not like anyone ever had this conversation with us directly. It just happened gradually. We stopped being invited to things. Requests to meet for lunch went unanswered. Texts went ignored, but they still feign friendship. They still like our Instagram posts. They say an obligatory thanks in response to a happy birthday text. But nothing proactive. No one reaches out. And no one has ever been honest with us. We've just had to piece the truth together over time. I just think the whole thing is stupid. I've tried to move on. We've made some new friends and reinvested in other areas of our lives. But every once in a while, late at night, I think about the whole situation and it just ticks me off. One couple got divorced, our closest friends ghosted us, and I'm just done with it. Now for the comments. Same here. Pardon me for still loving both, but especially for trying to support the one who got cheated on. It wasn't enough for either of them. We've lost contact with both, and the friend group no longer does group things together, just occasional couple pairs. It bites. Definitely frustrating, and sorry you've experienced that too. Divorce definitely splits up more than just 2 people. With cheating specifically, that stings though. Why should the cheater not face any consequences from their friends? If any of my friends were cheaters, I'd honestly be rethinking the friendship. To me, that's a cardinal sin. What a shame. A very difficult situation with emotions running high. I suppose at this point, you're feeling too hurt to try to work things out through direct communication. It would entail picking a side since the attempt to stay neutral didn't work. That would mean meeting with one person you felt closest to in an attempt to clear the air. But with so much hurt already caused, do you think you could move past it? If not, it may be best to just cut contact entirely, especially on social media, so you're not constantly seeing photos of get-togethers and outings where you were not included. Divorce, death, and perhaps the later introduction of a new partner often change group dynamics. You're definitely right about social media. I should mute those people because whenever I see posts of them getting together, talking about how they are their best friends for life, etc., it definitely saddens me. I think a complicating aspect is that my wife feels much more connected to the new group of friends we have, and I'm happy for her. But it also means she's not that motivated to try to go back and resolve issues that, at this point, are a few years old with the old friend group. While I am friends with the spouses of the new group, it does feel more like a friends because the wives are friends situation. Thank you for your thoughts and kindness. Last story. My stepdad's affair was finally exposed, and I'm being blamed. To explain, I'm 21 male, and my stepdad has been with my mom since I was 10 years old. When I was 14, I had a dental appointment during the school day, so my mom took me. While we were in town, we saw my stepdad helping a woman out of his car before he kissed her. I was floored. A few days later, my mom came to me and told me that he had come clean, confessed, but that they were going to stay together, and I needed to keep it a secret. I obliged and kept it a secret from my 2 siblings, and even from my stepdad, who had no idea that I knew. Fast forward to now. My brother, 29 male, came home and told us that his engagement was off because he found out his fiancée cheated on him. We all consoled him. Later, at a community church event, my stepdad told him that if he really loved her, he'd move past it and that he was being very immature about real adult relationships. My sister, who overheard this, got mad and told him that, of course he'd defend cheating, being the cheater he is. He was shocked, and unfortunately, she said it in front of one of the church aunties, and if you know how much they love gossip, you can see where this is going. My mom was mad at me, thinking that I was the one who told my sister, and she said that my stepdad's reputation was ruined. I got really angry, and all the pent-up frustration from years of holding on to this secret came out. I told her that forcing me to keep a secret for years was really messed up, and I asked how she could even stay married to such a horrible man. I told her that I would never condone something like that from a partner, along with other things I'd rather not repeat. For the record, I didn't tell my sister. I have no idea how she found out or how much she knows, but now my stepdad is telling me to apologize to my mom, saying I was way out of line. At this point, I'm just mentally done with all of this. I know I shouldn't have been as harsh as I was, but they really don't understand how much of a burden this has been for me too. No, this was not your secret to carry, especially not at that age and for that long. It was your mom's choice to stay and hide his secret. She should apologize to you for making you hide it. I think I needed to hear this, because even a few days later, I still feel slightly guilty. Thank you very much. Cheating always comes to light eventually. The source of the information is irrelevant. Religious families love to keep that stuff a secret to save the family image. It doesn't work. Either people figure it out on their own, or someone eventually cracks and slips up. Sometimes that takes years, but eventually, what goes around comes around. If I were you, I would just keep repeating, "This is your problem, not mine, and this really has nothing to do with me," because it doesn't. It was nice to hear this, and I think I needed it. Divorce is very taboo in our culture, and while I understood my mom's perspective, I just couldn't believe that it somehow ended up on me in the end. Thank you for your kind words. Your stepdad was out in town in broad daylight flaunting his floozy, and he didn't think people would see and talk? He's a special kind of special, and not in an endearing way. Your sister probably heard from 10 different sources. Edit. For everyone asking, I am currently back at university. Thank you for all your messages, whether good or bad. When I next go home, I plan on talking to my whole family. But for now, I think I should give everyone a little space to cool down. I'll update when I go home and find out what happened myself too. Again, thank you all.